Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week, we are taking a look at The Glass Castle.
Which tells the tale of a dysfunctional family who travel the road and don't really have a permanent home, but have themselves and have their family and have their teachings of their father and mother. And I suggested let's do The Glass Castle because I read the book, and the book's really, really fantastic, but done by Jeanette Walls, who is the main character, the daughter, the middle daughter in this film. I know that they don't live as nice a nomadic lifestyle. Like the family has, issues. The parents have their own demons. I'm keen to see what you think of first, Andy, of this film.
So this was Destin Daniel Cretton's third film, I believe. I'm Not a Hipster. We did Short Term 12 a couple of weeks ago in Film Club, and The Glass Castle was sort of reuniting him and Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a film that has some really lovely performances, particularly from Brie Larson and from Woody Harrelson, like the two central ones.
Stellar casting.
Yeah, stellar casting. All the kids are really great as well, actually. And there's some lovely little sequences, especially some of the aesthetic. A lot of the aesthetic actually reminds me of slightly more polished up Short Term 12. Short Term 12 is more rough around the edges for its own charm. This is a little bit glossier, a little bit more romanticized, which works for sort of like the memoir element of it. And by the end of this film, I think it had overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, I agree. I had issues with this because I couldn't help but compare it to the book, and I don't think it does the book any justice at all. It's hard to get a book, make an adaptation, especially something is like kind of, I think it's the over 300 pages, the book, and something is, there's so many things that these families go through, so many houses, so many locations. At one point they go to school, they have a proper lifestyle, then they go back to live in a hut without food, without plumbing, electricity. For me, they just did not do it justice. And anyone who has seen this and is put off by reading the book, please just read the book, and I promise you it's entirely different. It's a lot better.
Halfway through this film, I was already starting to feel some of its pacing problems. There was actually a moment where I actually nipped to the loo and I paused it, and I was thinking like, I'm getting to the end of this. And it was halfway through. It was literally like hitting sort of the hour mark. And there's a sort of a continuous pacing problem, which is a little strange that you feel like you spend so much time with the film and yet you still don't feel like you've got enough from it. I think that's what you're talking about, the fact that they've condensed this book down. And the subject matter of what the story is talking about, presumably what the book is talking about, but certainly what the film is talking about is...
What do you feel it's talking about?
Well, it's about sort of family, but also intermixed with a very delicate subject matter of psychological abuse. And the fact that you're dealing with such a delicate subject matter, a very nuanced one, but the nuance of it never quite comes across properly. I think they do a really good job at showing some of like two sides of the coin, some of the great times they have, and then some of the real hardship they put them through. But then the film itself couldn't help but like lean into a sort of a sentimental, very happy ending. And that didn't sit right for me, if I'm honest. It was almost like they were sort of giving this message of, you can be this horrible parent as long as you occasionally bust out some homespun truths and have a bit of character about you. And I'm sure that's not what her story is, and I'm sure it's not what the book's about. But the film struggled with the message.
So yeah, you're absolutely right there, and it's something I read before we did this, or like when we agreed to do this. I did read a few articles to see what the difference was between the film and the book. Does it do it justice and everything? And they are right in the sense that there's one thing this film does really well, and it's modern day, and then looking at flashbacks. It's not the book doesn't necessarily do that. It starts from the start and goes to the end, and then the kind of present day. The present day in the film is hyper dramatized. It might, I don't know, because there's those scenes at the end with Jeanette Walls and the family and everything, and I really loved those scenes. It was not something that I expected, and I got to see this kind of the family post story of the future with their engagement with I don't have the name of the guy, Schmidt from New Girl. It's terrible that I know him from that. but that there and the troubles that they have, and he's not like bringing the story through. That's not the message in the book. It's actually he was the husband at the time, and he was helping push Jeanette to write this book, and actually not kind of hold back. He's like, tell them the truth, tell your audience the truth, which is really interesting. I think he was a lot more supportive, unlike the film makes him out to be out of his depth when dealing with a family. One of the main issues, and you absolutely hit the nail on the head with the pacing. One of the main issues is the first third, I dare say, half of the book, maybe a third, is done in the first half hour. And what's really cool about that first half of the third of the book is it really kind of helps cater this story together. I think in the film, when you get Woody Harrelson's Rex, the father, he does come across as a bit of a bad person. He builds up this, bad, and at the end, he's atones for his sins by, as he said, just preaching some home truths. When in fact, in the book, there's that scene at the end with the stars, you name the stars after Christmas. That happens early on in the book, and all these moments where Rex is actually like, for the latter part, he was a good father, and so was the mother Rose. And the kids, the best thing about the book is the kids are really good to each other. They're very independent, but towards each other, look after each other. And I feel in a film you don't really have the same relationships. I think the people acting are great, but I wasn't really invested in Laurie and Brian, who are huge, absolutely huge in the book. And it's hard for me not to compare. And I keep saying to the book, but in the end, you look at the film and it really focuses on Jeanette, and it focuses on Rex, and the other characters are more side characters, where that shouldn't be the case. That the whole concept of this film is about the family pulling together through hardship, when in fact, as you said there yourself, it's more the relationship between Jeanette and the father, and atoning for his sins at the very end. And I feel it kind of pushes aside the real subject of what the memoir was trying to be.
Some of the performances really nice. Woody Harrelson is kind of doing the same sort of role he's known for, but he gets a really heartfelt performance by the end as well. Nice sort of flip flop. Especially, I love the scene where Brie Larson is about to leave to go to New York, and he's just trying to carry on as if she's not going, and if he builds the castle, then she'll stay. He gives a really nice, nuanced performance in that moment. Big props to the three actresses that played Jeanette. You've got Brie Larson, obviously, head of the table there. You also have Ella Anderson playing the younger version of Jeanette. And then you've got an actress called Chandler Head, who's playing the youngest version of Jeanette.
Yeah.
All three of them, absolutely stellar. Some of them have to do some really difficult scenes, and they all nail it.
Again, it's. I feel like the film focuses far too much on the present day and the future.
Yeah, I'd love to see a slightly refocused version of this film where it does shift the focus onto their childhood, and maybe we tell it in a slightly more chronological sense rather than playing it through flashbacks.
I built this film up to be something big, and especially with Destin Daniel Cretton and a Short Term 12, which I absolutely love. I feel like it was a bit of a letdown with this one, but
Yeah, he's a director that clearly has an eye for certain themes. But yeah, I totally agree. It's perfectly fine. It's totally inoffensive. It just doesn't really click together at the end to make a really great film.
By all means, watch Short Term 12, watch Just Mercy. Maybe his other stuff might be really good, but if you're interested in watching this film, I would say read the book.
So there is The Glass Castle. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of The Glass Castle. If you loved it, please let us know. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where we're going to totally change it up. We're taking a look at El Mariachi.
Nice.
So until then, get watching.